What's up, everybody? This is Jack Macklin with Let's Cool One, here back for episode number 3. We got Brendan behind the boards today. What's up, Brendan?
Yo.
Sweet.
We're ready.
Yeah, we're here. We're rocking and rolling. We're cooling one. And we have an exciting show for you guys today. We're talking about one of my guitar heroes, the great, the infamous Wes Montgomery. Wes has been an inspiration and a love of mine for many years now. Wes is just one of the best jazz guitar players ever. You know, his life story is super interesting, and we'll get into a little bit about that. But one of the places I wanted to start off with is just kind of playing a little Wes Montgomery song for you, and then we'll get into talking about his life and his impact on me and his music, and maybe share some recordings, some live concert videos, and do a little see what other people has to say about him. But I wanted to start off with playing this tune, his composition entitled Layla. All right. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let's go. So that's a beautiful little tune entitled Layla by Wes Montgomery. Man, I think that's off of the Montgomery Brothers record. Yeah, we could look that up really quick. I think it's Leila. Layla. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Wes had two brothers. You know, there were one older, one younger, I believe, and Monk Montgomery and Buddy Montgomery, and Monk was a vibes player and a vibraphone player and a drummer, and Buddy was a bassist. And they actually went to form this band a little later in their career called the Master Sounds, which George Benson talks about it, and he says that it's one of his favorite bands. They were the Master Sounds, is what George Benson said, because they just played so well together. One of his favorite bands.
It says Montgomery Land.
Montgomery Land, right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a record that the Montgomery brothers made with Harold Land, a saxophone player, so they called it Montgomery Land. Get it? Yeah, because the guy's last name was Land.
Yeah.
And Montgomery. Yeah, so that's a little goofy, but that record is killing. So killing. Yeah, so one of the most interesting things about Wes is that he played guitar with his thumb, and I'm sure other guitar players listening out there know this, but Wes, he played with his thumb, and the story behind that is pretty wild. He has all this technique and all this this ability to maneuver the guitar just with his thumb. The legend goes that he had a crazy hitchhiker's thumb, so it bends like super far back. I also have a hitchhiker's thumb, so you can see here how it's bending far back. But yeah, that's how he would do it, and he would play the guitar with like that. And he said that in a Downbeat interview that I have read, he talks about how he was playing with the pick for a while, and then he had his thumb for a while, and he went back to the thumb because the pick gave him more technical facility, but the thumb gave him a nicer tone. So we always practice late at night at his place, and his wife actually would just keep on yelling at him to keep it down, you know, because he was being so loud at night playing with the amp. So he basically just threw out the pick and started playing with his thumb because he could play quieter that way with the amp. So it would keep his family from yelling at him, which is pretty funny. It's a master story. And then we went on to make that his signature. Playing with his thumb is the Wes Montgomery signature. But yeah, he was one of the other coolest things about Wes Montgomery is that he was a self-taught guitar player. You know, him, and there's another interview in the later half of his life where he talked about his influences, and one of his main influences was the guitar player Charlie Christian, who Charlie Christian was super young. I think Charlie Christian died at like 25 years old or 23 years old, but he was one of the guitar players to change jazz guitar forever. He played in the Benny Goodman Orchestra and he in the Billy Eckstine Orchestra, I believe, and he just destroyed it. There's some old Charlie Christian that we could put on here. You know, if you wanted to play like I think we could play like 10 seconds or 5 seconds of a song, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Charlie Christian, there's like Stomping at the Savoy maybe, or the Great Charlie Christian. You could just play any of his tunes, but he just to give you guys a feel for how old we're talking and what the vibe was of this.
All right. Wait, let me get them to hear it real quick. One sec. And
yeah,
all right. Can't play any more than that.
All right, but yeah, so that's kind of like the vibe. It's like, super super old, but what Charlie Christian did is he was one of the first electric guitar players ever. That was like recorded back in like the 30s or the 20s. I'm not really exactly sure, but I know, or maybe the 40s. I honestly don't know. That's
41.
41. Okay. Yeah, but 41. That was when the electric guitar first started coming out, and Charlie Christian made a huge splash with it because he was playing electric guitar and actually playing his guitar like a horn player would play their horn, single note lines, having soloing, playing, improvising over the tunes. There's actually a funny story with that too, how Charlie Christian got the gig with Benny Goodman. I guess he like showed up to the gig, and some guy was like, "Oh, I have this guitar player here. He's really killing." And he showed up, and Benny Goodman had him play, and he put him on the spot, knowing that like he called just a really challenging tune, like because jazz musicians are supposed to know a bunch of songs, and he called like Honeysuckle Rose or something that they played, and Charlie ended up knowing it, and he got the gig from there. And I think, he was one of the first black dudes to be in a band with a white band leader. And it really just opened the doorway for guitar players and other, musicians alike. But so yeah, Charlie Christian, that vibe, was one of the first guitar soloists, and just amazing player and amazing soloist. And that was one of Wes's huge influences. So there's also a story about how Wes, he got his first guitar gig. Wes didn't buy a guitar until, the legend goes, until he was 19 and he already was married. And then he went and bought his first guitar. And then he went on to change jazz guitar history. But yeah, he was 19 when he was married. I guess he always had kind of like a baritone guitar before that. And he kind of built up to this relationship he had with the guitar, and his older brother was a musician, so he was always around music and stuff. So it's like, I don't think that he actually started playing guitar when he was 19. I think that was when he just bought his first 6-string guitar, and before that I think he had like a 4-string ukulele, or maybe like a smaller bass or a baritone guitar. I'm not sure, but I think he was always around music. But until he was married, that's when he decided he really wanted to be a guitar player. He knew Charlie Christian, and the story goes that he learned a bunch of Charlie Christian solos, like just would sit there and listen to Charlie Christian by ear and learn his solos. Transcribing is what we call it in the jazz world. And he got his first gig just playing these Charlie Christian solos in a band. Like, imagine that, right? Getting a gig and having it be where you're just playing another person's solos note for note. I mean, that's what a lot of people do now anyway, on like in pop bands and stuff like that. When you play Don't Stop Believin', it's like you're gonna play that Don't Stop Believin' guitar solo note for note. Everyone knows that, and they get stoked about that. But you have to remember too that at this time in the 40s, early 40s, like that was the type of popular music that everyone was listening to. They were like, it was swing dance, it was small groups were just starting to get popular, and yeah, so like that music was some of the popular music at the time. So everyone knew those Charlie Christian solos. Everyone wanted to sound like that. The guitar was new and an exciting thing at this point. Yeah, it was great. So Wes was just so inspired by Charlie Christian, and that was what when he said once he learned Charlie Christian, once he heard Charlie Christian, he knew that was over and that was it. So he went to learn all these solos and do it with his thumb. He then went on to play. He played with some amazing groups, like the Billy Eckstine group he played with. There's some old footage of him playing with them when he was young, and Wes just had so much talent, as you can even see in those old videos of him playing. I think there's There might be a video on YouTube. You should look this one up of Wes Montgomery and Billy Eckstein. It's I think you use Wes Wes Montgomery and then Billy Eckstein. I think he's like Eckstein. Yeah, but so he played in. I think he was pretty young in his 20s when he just decided to go on tour with Billy Eckstein, but he eventually gave that all up and his shot to fame, and he came back home to Indianapolis. He was from Indianapolis, Indiana, and that's where he lived most of his life. Billy Eckstein, Eckstein.
Yeah, no, that's what I spelled it, but Billy, like Billy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe something might come up, something maybe not.
Yeah, no, none came up.
All right, that's fine. I forget where I saw that video. I think it was in this documentary called Westbound. It's like a PBS documentary of. I would recommend you guys to watch it if you guys are Wes Montgomery fans. But they talk about his life, and it was like a documentary from the perspective of one of his sons who never went off to do music. But it was really cool, and it's really cool to hear about Wes. But anyway, yeah, his home was Indianapolis, Indiana, and that's where he was from, and that's where he lived with his brothers. And listen to his brothers in the Montgomery trio. They were some of the top musicians I've ever heard, and like sounded amazing at what they did. And no question that Wes got to be the player he was because his brothers were also phenomenal players. And they always would play together all night and all day and play in the clubs together and just workshop together, and they made some beautiful records. So it would be, what else would make you great than having your brothers pushing you as well? So Wes went on he was touring with Billy Eckstein in his early 20s, and that was like probably his most successful gig up until that point. And he wanted to take his career to the next level and wanted to get to the next point, but he didn't really know how. And so he was tired of being on the road. Wes never flew. He would always drive. That's also a part of why he wanted to stay in Indianapolis, is because he never wanted to fly or didn't want to. That's why he wanted to not be on the road anymore, is because he would have to drive everywhere. He drove across the country all the time, making these gigs with the Billy Eckstein band. I think he was in it for a couple years. But then eventually he gave up that opportunity and went back to Indianapolis to be with his wife. And he had a bunch of kids at the time. Wes had a total of 7 children, which it was hard to provide for, not being there, being on the road all the time. So he gave up that gig and went to be like a welder in his hometown of Indianapolis and provide for his kids and play gigs at night and practice all night and work during the day. Just an amazing type of dude. Like how can someone be a welder all day long and then go play jazz guitar all night, and just be so killing? Must have just had some crazy discipline and just super gifted player. But yeah, so that was all kind of his early life. Up to that point, he had like one shot to fame with the Billy Eckstein group, and then eventually he gave that up. He didn't know if his music career was gonna work out, like all that type of stuff, and he went back to Indianapolis. And it was like, I think that that's really interesting to bring that point up because, today, if you had the skills and the level that Wes Montgomery did, you could just post yourself on Instagram all the time and so this is what I could do, check me out. This is what I'm doing, playing with the Billy Eckstein band, doing this and that. Everyone sees it, but what was this, the 50s or the late 40s when this was going on? When Wes was playing with him. So it was like, there was no Instagram or no things like that. So it was like definitely a little bit more challenging to find out who the good cats were, and you had to be in a certain place. Like, that's why everyone went to New York, is because that's where you got found at the time. That's where people discovered you. You got discovered. And, it's like it's not exactly like that anymore, because you can get discovered from anywhere now. And I think we live in an amazing time to be a musician or be any type of creative skill, because we are it's a good time to get discovered. We live in an amazing time because we can just put ourselves out there and people can follow us, and we can follow them from the comfort of our own home, and we don't have to like go to New York anymore to be discovered. I mean, obviously New York is awesome and I love it there, but I feel like that's just an interesting time. It's like not how it was, and it's totally different, and we have to take advantage of the time we're in now. And if Wes was in this time, I'm no doubt he would be like posting himself all the time, or people would know about him, So anyway, yeah. So Wes went home. He wanted to provide for his 7 kids, be a welder during the day, play at night, play with his brothers, all that stuff. And Wes didn't get a recording contract until later. Actually, the record we just checked out, Montgomery Land, was a record that he made with arrangements by the great Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones is a legend. He worked on, Thriller by Michael Jackson, all the way from making big band records with Miles Davis to his own music. It's just Quincy Jones is a Grammy Award-winning master. Look up to him a lot. But he worked on a Wes Montgomery record in the 60s. Well, I think it was 59 actually that they recorded this Montgomery Land record. But there was they recorded this record, and it was the Montgomery brothers plus Harold Land, and it was featured a bunch of Wes's originals on there. And they pitched that to record companies to get to potentially make a label, and all the record companies rejected that record and didn't want to put it on their label, and that was very sad. And Wes had another thought that everything was over at that point, and just went back to Indianapolis. And the story goes that Cannonball Adderley went to a club to check him out, the great saxophonist Cannonball Adderley, and called up his label, Riverside Records, and told him that they needed to record Wes right away, and he was amazing. And they gave Wes his first trio record, the Wes Montgomery Trio. They play Around Midnight, and it's like the white record with some type of art in the background. It's amazing. Amazing records, that Organ Trio record. I think that one is definitely an amazing record. My favorite record of Wes, we'll get into this a little bit, is probably Boss Guitar. I just love that record, and I think it's amazing. But his first record with Riverside was the Wes Montgomery Trio, and he then went on to do the Incredible Jazz Guitar, which is that's the record where he featured 4 on 6 and West Coast Blues, he features that tune on there too. I forget the name of that one, but he takes it as a ballad on there. Amazing. Wes is just he does some amazing stuff on there. We're talking about some of his music. There's a wonderful live concert that he plays that I wanted to look up. It's Wes Montgomery Live. You probably could look up. It's with the band is with Harold Mayburn, Jimmy Loveless, and on drums, and I feel like I can't remember the bass player at the time, but it would be cool to hear a little bit of Wes right now.
would it be in like London, Brussels, Belgium?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'll do the one in London.
So, yeah, yeah. I'll see if it's the right video. There's two. There's one of him playing with his band from the United States, and there's one. They're in like Belgium or something. There's one of him playing with his band. Oh yeah, yeah. This is it. Yeah. So we can gain from that Wes just has amazing facility on the guitar. It's pretty incredible, right?
Yeah. I mean, the viewers, they couldn't see that, but I saw it. You just look it up on YouTube. It's going to be Wes Montgomery live in London. It should come up.
Yeah, and that I just want to give you guys a little taste of Wes. He had such an incredible sound with the guitar. I mean, like again, using his thumb to get that articulation that he was getting. And then one of the signature styles of Wes Montgomery is obviously the octave use. Like an octave is playing two notes at the same time. I mean, for you guys that don't know, It's kind of just like here's this is one note, and that's another note, same note. Where you get like the two notes of the same note. But he what he would do is he just really liked that sound of the octaves, and he would start playing lines with that sound, and he would practice playing regular lines like he would do single notes but with octaves, and it really made a lasting impression on jazz guitar. And then he would build that up in his solos. He would start with single notes, build it into octaves, and then transition into a chordal way of soloing, almost like black chords on the piano, with like you listen to Billy Boy by Miles Davis or something, almost like a way like that on the guitar. And there's no doubt that Wes was a huge Miles fan, a huge Art Blakey fan, and you could tell by his arrangement of End of a Love Affair on his first record, Wes Montgomery Trio, where it's just very similar to the Art Blakey arrangement. You could just tell that he loved that, and he played Acaro, that one tune from Art Blakey written for Horace Silver. It's Horace Silver played backwards. He played that tune on one of his early records, and it just sounded amazing. They recently actually released a Wes Montgomery live recordings from the Half Note. One of my two favorite records are Boss Guitar and Smoking at the Half Note by Wes Montgomery. And the Half Note record was recorded in '65 when Montgomery was 42 years old. See, he didn't, with that time when Cannonball came in and discovered Wes was 35 years old already, and he was just playing because he loved to play, and he didn't play because he thought he was going to be famous or thought he was going to be discovered. He just knew that he loved music and wanted to do it, and that's just such an inspiring message coming from one of the GOATs. But anyway, when he was 65, or when in 1965, when he was 35 years old, he got an opportunity to play at the Half Note with the Wynton Kelly Trio, which is with Paul Chambers and Jimmy Cobb, those were Miles Davis's old rhythm section members. And Wes knew exactly what to do with that in '65, which was incredible. Some of his solos on there that are amazing is the one on No Blues. I actually spent a long time learning that solo, a couple months to get that solo down to a T. It's like a 5-minute solo, but it's just an incredible solo, and it describes perfectly how Wes would go from single note lines to octaves to chordal soloing. And his solo on there, from If You Could See Me Now, the wonderful Tad Dameron tune, is just incredible. And that just, today I would say that's just how you play jazz guitar today, is like that solo in that tune. And it's just amazing. You could tell how, Paul Chambers and Jimmy Cobb and Wynton Kelly have been playing together for a really long time, and the way that they just maneuver the harmony, the way that they're just like know what each other's going to do before they do it on that record is absolutely beautiful. Some of the highlights are definitely, like I said, Wes's solo on No Blues, Wynton's solo on Unit 7, and Wes's solo after that on Unit 7. The way that Wes comps behind Wynton Kelly, meaning like his accompaniment, they call it comping in jazz, is amazing behind Wynton's stuff. And yeah, that's some of the one of the best records. But I was going to say that they just released a other recordings from the Half Note from '65 recently. I think earlier this year, or maybe it was last year, that they released a bunch of other Wes Montgomery recordings from the Half Note, which is cool as hell, and it sounds really great. So yeah, Wes Montgomery, just a huge influence. After he recorded his first two records, Incredible Jazz Guitar and Wes Montgomery Trio, I think he went on to record Boss Guitar, which is just another Wes added to the lineage of the organ trio and guitar. That's been a very popular thing in jazz history. You can see that with Grant Green and Bobby Broom's doing that today. But Wes had his own version of, Kenny Burrell and Jimmy Smith, George Benson, Jack McDuff. All these people had great organ trios who were great guitar players as well. And the one Wes has with Melvin Rhyne, and I think Jimmy Cobb is on there as well, called Boss Guitar, is just an amazing trio. They play just a bunch of the Trick Bag on there. They play Canadian Sunset. They play Fried Pies is on there. That one's amazing. Wes just destroys that. It's one of my favorite records. It's one of those records where I want to be sipping a glass of fine wine while I'm relaxing, listening to Wes Montgomery. It just makes me in such a great mood, and I'd recommend you guys listen to it too, because it make you guys get you guys in a great mood. But yeah, so that was Boss Guitar, and it's just so inspiring how from probably 1960 to 1968, Wes had about 8 more albums, because about 1965 he started going into the pop realm of things, but he only had like 8 years of fame where he 8 years of people really knowing his stuff, and like 8 years probably went by pretty quick, because he died in 68 when he was 45 years old, and he from a heart attack, which is very unfortunate, because Wes was a huge smoker, and he, like I said, he didn't fly in planes, and so he would drive everywhere. He worked all day as a welder and played guitar at night, so he died at the relatively young age of 45, and from a heart attack, and it was a travesty. But yeah, around Wes is also known as the grandfather of smooth jazz, because around 65 he was one of the first musicians to do instrumental versions of Beatles songs. As you can see, That Day in the Life by Wes Montgomery is one of his amazing hit records. He started playing guitar with a big band, which it was amazing. Some of the tunes are smooth. The record Tequila, where he plays tequila on there. Oh man, I really wish we could listen to that one, but we probably couldn't, because he has, I recommend you guys listen to that one at home, because Wes has just an amazing chef's kiss solo on Tequila. And even when he was getting into his smoother stuff, Wes was smoother jazz type of stuff. Wes was equally as smooth with the guitar, and if you try to learn that as a guitar player, I've learned his straight ahead stuff and I've learned his more smoother stuff. It's equally as hard to learn. He was just a brilliant guitar player. He knew how to put his brilliance into different formats, as he did with the smoother stuff and as he did with the long format stuff. And in 65, which is so interesting, is because that's the same year the live record was recorded at Live at the Half Note. His studio records were a lot different at the time. He was doing a lot of this, like I said, the smooth jazz stuff, and if you were going to see Wes Montgomery at a club around the time, it was definitely more straight ahead, and he was playing his ass off in the club. But when you would buy his records, I guess he had a lot of success, a lot of fame, and he was pretty famous, one of the most famous jazz musicians at the time. Which is totally makes a lot of sense, and a lot of people know Wes Montgomery for his like Bumpin' at Sunset, his Tequila, everything like that, and he just wrote on that stuff, and he knew what type of player he was. And there's a couple videos. I think there's this video on YouTube of Wes in like this orange suit. Yeah, let's see if you could look this one up, because there's this Wes Montgomery interview on YouTube. It's like later in his life. It might be 1968, maybe just Wes Montgomery interview 1968, where he talks about a couple cool things I think would really be helpful here. But yeah, I think he talks about why he got into the thumb, about how he was self-taught, about how he. But it's really interesting because it was 68 is obviously the year he passed away. So hearing just his interpretation from this time is really cool.
I see him in a suit, orange suit. It's called like Windy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was you could play that as well, but that's play that, and then there's like an interview in 1968 where he should be talking. Do you see that? Is that anywhere?
Yeah, that one's in black and white though.
Yeah, that one's in black and white. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this one is really amazing to hear him talk. Give you guys a little idea.
We'll discuss that. Hello, I'm Jim Rockwell. Our program is People in Jazz, and today our man in jazz is Wes Montgomery. And many years ago, about 1959, well, it was indeed in 1959, a dear old friend with whom I had been associated and who owned a record company, which was Riverside, sent me a demonstration record of an album he was about to release. And it was a guitarist then quite unknown. It was Wes Montgomery, who since then has emerged and has become a major star. And it delights me to have watched this happen over the years, Wes. It's been nearly 10 years. It's been 9 years. But in those years, to watch this blossoming from an unknown guitarist from Indianapolis to the major star that you are. And I remember so fondly the things on Riverside West, because I think in all of the years that company existed, with Bill Grover's death, the company ended. But I think in all of the years that Riverside existed, they never knowingly released a bad album, and that is a rare company that does this. A rare company. So many companies, they'll release a thing, they don't really believe it's that great, but it'll sell, do it. Now, I'm not suggesting that every album they ever made was great, but if it didn't come off bad, it isn't because they didn't try.
Right.
I mean, if it did come off bad, it isn't because they didn't try to make a good album. Everything they did was intended
They
to
believed
be
in what they were doing.
art for art's sake and a good album.
Right.
And they had such great faith in Wes Montgomery, and they had such insight in being the first to record you.
Right.
That happened because Cannonball Adderley heard you in Indianapolis and went back and told the Riverside people. He said, this man in Indianapolis is playing guitar till you wouldn't believe. Now, this is the way most unknown players become known, I think, as itinerant musicians traveling around the country as you do now. When you get in a local town, you hear somebody and you go back to New York and say it. When you travel around the country, Wes, and indeed now you travel all over the world, do you listen to players wherever you go?
Every chance I get, but we've been working so much, it's hard to get out to hear other groups, other fellows. I hear some guitar players now and then, upcoming guitar players, and sound good.
Where have you heard somebody? Who does someone come to your mind now that you've heard an unknown guitarist that's playing someplace unnoticed?
Yeah, Joe DiArio from Chicago. Have you heard of him?
No.
He's together. And but I think the most fantastic guitar player I've heard was Nelson Simon. Is in Montreal, Canada. Oscar Peterson told me about him. Coltrane told me about him. Horace Silver told me about him. Also, most of the major musicians has told me about him. So I figured he must be great. And I played there one week, and I had a chance to hear him. So I couldn't burn my guitar up because I was working. So. Well, that was... If you ever come here, it's over.
Oh, really?
See, now, you probably don't believe this, do you?
No,
because I sort of...
never doubted you in my life.
But I sort of felt like, you can feel like a guy that's good, sure. You know, it could excite somebody. That's sort of the way I felt, but it's much more than that. He's got a new approach to the instrument, new direction. For instance, he played chords as fast as a lot of guys play lines.
Well, you do this.
No. I mean, play him. I mean, he'd make all the changes, all of them. I mean, without, like if we start off with big changes, he'd continue large changes.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. There's never anything like, and he's always crying. He's always telling me, oh, I'm not ready. I can't get myself together. I'm talking about, yeah, that's right. It's too much, man.
How old a man is he?
I don't know, he look like he's around 31, maybe 29, 30, 31, something like that. But he don't know his own talent. He don't know it.
Well,
So keep that in mind. Nelson Simon.
Nelson Simon in Montreal.
Montreal.
We'll ask Oscar about him when he's in town next.
All right.
But now here's the case in point. You have mentioned half a dozen musicians who have told you about this guy.
Right.
And this is the way unknown players frequently become known players, is that other players hear them.
Right.
The word spreads. Now, does it wait then for a player like one of these that you've mentioned, or like yourself, to hit on a record company about an unknown player like this? See, the reason I'm mentioning this, Wes, is that so frequently players will come to me or come to somebody and say, I want to play. What do I do?
Yeah. Well, it's not quite as easy today as it used to be. Major recording companies a while back were looking for new talent, but they don't seem to be looking for it anymore, unless it comes from the people that's in the company. I mean, outside names doesn't mean anything. Like, for instance, if I went to, I'm with A&M now, if I went to my company and said, well, look, it's a guy I think is great. I don't care what if he's saying or what. They say, yeah, great, good. Come on in, have some coffee, you know. They'll go right off the subject. It's just different, that's all. Just like the same differences that a lot of the major jazz labels has sort of started their artists to put one or two commercial things on an album. They used to wouldn't do that. I mean, like Riverside was one of the ones. They didn't deviate one way or the other, but just like things change, you know. So, and that's one of the things that have changed.
You said, for instance, that this young man is unaware of his talent. This is historically what has been said of Wes Montgomery. Everyone in life has said Wes had no idea how infinitely talented the man is, because you're a self-taught guitarist.
Right.
It has also been said that in the history of the instrument, there have been three men who have done something new, who have brought a new dimension to the instrument, and who have made an honest-to-goodness contribution to the instrument. Django Reinhardt, Charlie Christian, and Wes Montgomery. Because before you, no one played the way you play. And it's been said because you didn't know, right? Had you been a schooled guitarist, had you been taught from the very get-go to do everything according to impeccable technique, everything as it should be done, you wouldn't be the player you are, I think.
Probably not. Probably because you don't have any instructions saying that you can't do. It's all in your own mind, what you feel like doing. What do you feel like could be developed?
Not having been channeled in a traditional, track of a schooled guitarist, you were free to go.
Right.
Fortunately, you went in a beautiful way.
Fortunately.
Now this, but now this is not to say, I'm just thinking that each of these three men that we've mentioned, Django Reinhardt, Charlie Christian, and yourself, have all been self-taught guitarists.
Yeah,
Okay. But this is not to say that a young man aspiring to play should intentionally remain self-taught and avoid all schooling, because it's a rare man indeed who can be a self-taught player and have it come off and do something. Right.
Yeah. Well, in fact, I know.
Yeah, that just gives you guys a little clue on how humble Wes was, and how being self-taught and like that was just an amazing gift that he had, and he just had the music flowing through him. Yeah, and it also shows you the level of fame he had at that time. he was really one of the only famous, jazz musicians at that time who reached that level of popularity across just beyond just other jazz musicians, but also other people who didn't really understand jazz as much. Just his music just really it could grasp the realms of people who didn't like that music or who didn't really understand it as well. And he had a way of putting his brilliance into a lot of different into a way where people could understand it. And I really appreciate that from Wes, because he was just an amazing player. So that was in the later half of his life when he was doing that, and when he did that interview. And I think he died like maybe a few months after that interview, which is crazy, because he was at the top of his game at that point. And what would have happened if he was alive longer than that? We never know. But yeah, if I were to give you guys a couple records to check out, it would definitely be Boss Guitar, Wes Montgomery. He absolutely destroys that. It would be Incredible Jazz Guitar and Smoking at the Half Note. Smoking at the Half Note is just one of my favorite Wes Montgomery records ever, and his influence will forever be ingrained. There's one more interview I want to play. It's just kind of like a story of Wes, and I feel like it goes into it. It's Billy Hart and Wes Montgomery is the name of the interview, but Billy Hart takes a little bit. Fortunately got the opportunity last month in July. I was in New York and I went to Mesro, and Billy Hart was playing there, and he's 80 something years old now, but he played with Wes Montgomery, and it was just amazing to hear him play. And knowing that he played with Wes is just incredible. And I got to talk to him a little bit, and I just introduced myself. It was super brief, but you have to introduce yourself when you're around a master like that. And yeah, Billy Hart just destroyed the gig. And it'd be amazing to get him on this podcast at one point, talk about Wes, and that would be incredible. But yeah, there's not really enough good things I can say about the impact of Wes's guitar playing, and any guitar player who's alive today is impacted on Wes, is influenced by Wes, if they like it or not, just with the way that Wes brought the guitar to the forefront, and the way that he innovated the guitar. There was really no crazy innovator like that before Wes. There was Barney Kessel doing a couple octave things and chordal things, but Wes really brought that stuff to the next level, and his compositions were second to none. He really added a ton of compositions into the jazz guitar framework. So if one more interview I want to play is the Billy Hart and Wes Montgomery. I think it's a shorter one, but Billy Hart tells this really cool story of a thing that an interaction that Wes had with him, and it's really cool. So that one would be really solid to play. Billy Hart, yeah, just amazing drummer. Went on to play with a bunch of amazing people, and he was a young dude at this time. Is it up there? You see that one?
Okay. And I said, well,
yeah, that's it.
Man, just because you don't like them, that don't mean I can go out and buy some dude. Well, I mean, I didn't say it like that. Like, well, I know what yeah. What are you talking to? I can't, I said, well, I like them, Mm-hmm. So he said, man, you got to get a cymbal. Mm-hmm. I said, well, I don't know if I can, I don't even know if we had negotiated money or anything. He just, Wes called me, I was just gone, Right. I wasn't like, wow. Well, I need, right. No. I better take the chance and go for it. It wasn't even taking a chance. He was like, he was Wes. I mean, yeah, I probably would have played for free. Right. I get it. So anyway, so when he brought that, I said, well, man, I don't know how much I'll make. I don't know if I can afford. He said, all right, man, go get a symbol, an adjective symbol.
Yeah.
So now I went to the bar, I just joined the band, man. I went to the bar and said, look, man, I don't see no music stores around here. Where I can go get a cymbal, any drum shop. And you know what it was? We were playing at a place called Lenny's on the Turnpike. There's a turnpike.
I've seen, I actually have seen a picture of one of the flyer type things, the posters about Lenny's on the Turnpike.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're playing at Lenny's on the Turnpike. And the cat said, well, man, you don't realize. He said, but just 20 miles down the road is the cymbal factory. Wow. I said, really? So I went down to the cymbal factory, I guess I got some kind of ride or something, went down to the factory. And it's a room about 4 times the size of this room, right? And full of cymbals. And I had like an old cymbal, but I'd grown up with that cymbal, and I loved that cymbal.
Right.
So I saw all these brand new cymbals I'd have. It just was too shiny. It didn't because I'm from the community.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was
Like an old football,
Yeah.
baseball or something.
Yeah, right.
Nothing new.
Yeah, right. So I tapped the cymbal. I didn't see nothing that I liked. Now I'm saying, well, here I am in the world capital of cymbals.
And I can't find it.
But I looked around in the corner, and I was there all day too, just tapping cymbals. So I looked over in the corner. There was up on the wall was a cymbal up on the wall, like an older one. It was still bright and shiny, but it was, but it was older. And I tapped it and tapped it. I said, okay, this is the one I want. And I said, well, Wes would give me $100. So he said, well, you got it. And I said, well, here, man, let me give you this money. He said, man, you seem like you really know what kind of cymbals you like. So if you just sign on the line, we'll give you the cymbal. Wow. Right? And do you know, all of these cymbals, none of this has ever been out of the house. I can show you, if I take you in the back room, I know it's so dirty back there, but I got about 6 or 8 cymbal bags of cymbals that I got. In other words, I'm a K zillion. Yeah. Wow. And that's because of Wes.
So Billy Hart.
Yeah. That was you there, right there. Wes helped Billy Hart out in getting a Zildjian, which is one of the leading cymbal companies, endorsement by Zildjian, and he got a cymbal for free. So Wes had like a good touch to him, people would really enjoy being around him. And I just wanted to wrap up this show today with just talking about how much Wes has influenced me in my guitar playing. I've always been a huge fan of Wes, and one of my my teachers at DePaul, from Scott Hesse to my teacher before that, Larry Brown, would always emphasize how Wes was always king, and how he was just one of the best guitar players, and learn as much as you can from him. And I don't think I really started understanding what that meant until, as I get older and I understand how unique Wes was with the guitar, and I understand how he was just such a master, and how he was never playing the thing the same way every time, and he had this endless flow to him, which is just brilliant. And especially at his young age of what he was 35 to 45, like just playing at the level that he was playing at is unreal. And every time I listen to him, it's exciting. His notes bounce off the record, and he just knew how to play with anybody. I mean, from the Miles Davis rhythm section to, his brothers, he was always felt comfortable and always felt at home. And he brought his swagger with him wherever he went. And he just is just the GOAT, there's no one besides Wes and maybe George Benson that could play at the level of facility that they could play. And And Wes has just influenced my music and the way that I hear music a ton. And I hope to write and play music in the future that, you know, is in the lineage of the jazz guitar, like how Wes did and George Benson did and Kenny Burrell did and all these Grant Green did and all these great jazz guitar players. But Wes definitely is still king to me. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me at jackmacklin@alithio.net. And I think that's it, right?
Other than the fact that it's alithiomedia.net.
alithiomedia.com. jackmacklin@alithiomedia.com is where you can email me if you have any questions or want me to discuss a certain topic about Wes. But yeah, I'm going to play a little just short snippet of one of his tunes to close us out today. But, you know, once again, Wes is the GOAT. I would highly recommend you guys checking him out. And his story is amazing. He worked so hard to get to where his career was. And I can never talk enough about him. And we may have another Wes Montgomery show in the future. But here's his tune entitled Twisted Blues. This one is one of he has a big band version of this tune and a small group version of this tune from his record So Much Guitar. Ron Carter played on this record, and this record is also amazing too. Bobby Broom had recorded an arrangement of this tune on one of his records. Bobby Broom also is super influenced by Wes. A lot of the guitar players I know in Chicago love Wes, and I'd hope to get another person on, another guitar player on, maybe talk about how Wes influenced us both in the future. But I'm going to end this show today with Twisted Blues by Wes Montgomery. Alrighty. All right. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.